Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a lovely Go Battle week and that you're finding some teams that are helping you climb despite the lag and some of the issues that we might have in the game. Hopefully you're still having fun. As I promised you guys in a post that I made on this channel previously, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the Ultra League teams that basically helped me get out of the pits after I dropped a lot of points playing Fossil Cup. These Ultra League teams basically saved my elo, and a lot of them do not require any XLs. There's only 2 teams that have XL Pokemon in them, and the 2 XL Pokemon that I use are pretty easy to build, in my opinion. But aside from those 2, the rest of the Pokemon do not require any XL candies. So if you're looking for some inspiration and you feel like playing Ultra League this Go Battle week, I would highly recommend giving the teams that I'm going to show you guys today a try. I do want to point out really quickly that I've taken a look at the move updates that are coming next season, and most of the Pokemon that I'm going to show you in this video should still be perfectly viable. So if you want to make that investment now, but you're worried about investing in a Pokemon that might not be useful next season, I'm going to tell you guys right now, the Pokemon that I use in this video will still be good, except for maybe the counter users, because Counter is getting nerfed, and I'm not sure how Annihilate and Poliwrath will perform in the coming season. But the rest of the Pokemon, I would highly recommend you build. They will not be a waste. That being said, just because these teams worked out for me doesn't mean they're going to work out for everyone. I know we all see different metas when we play. Maybe the meta I was seeing when I was playing might be a little bit different from the meta you're seeing. But these teams worked really well for me in the 2,500 to 2,800 elo range, and they're working for me right now in the 2,700s. I know I was 3,000 elo a week ago, but I might have started throwing some games. I wanted to get my games done quickly. I wanted the Stardust. Not only that, but they released that Pikachu with the cute little snorkeling outfit, and in order to get them, you need to play 5 games in the Go Battle League. So what did I do? I started running triple charm so that my games would end faster. I basically started throwing. So I am now in the 2,700s. And yeah, we dropped a lot. But I can guarantee you these Ultra League teams are still working when I use them. When I want to play seriously, they are good. Anyways, I'm going to stop rambling right now. I have some battles running in the background that are from a couple weeks ago. They are using one of the teams that I'm going to share with you guys today. And they are from after I dropped in Fossil Cup and I started playing Ultra League. I started running this team and I started doing really well with it. So if you guys want to take a look at those, you can as well. If my explanations get boring, there's a fun video on the side for you guys to look at. Hopefully it doesn't get boring. Anyways, let's get into the teams. The first 2 teams I'm going to show you guys are the ones that I climbed with the most. The first team is going to be Shadow Ampharos lead with Annihilate and Poliwrath in the back. This is a standard ABB line where you have the anti-flyer in the lead and then the 2 fighters in the back. But what's really nice about Ampharos is it will take care of a lot of your backline's weaknesses, and also a lot of what I was seeing on the lead, Ampharos is really good against. Most of the leads I was seeing, Ampharos can handle pretty well, which is why I think right now, Ampharos might be the strongest lead in the Ultra League. It's going to be good against Pidgeot and Talonflame. It'll also do really well against Giratina and Cresselia, although you will have to invest a shield into those matchups. And it's going to do really well against all of the water type leads I was seeing, like Jellicent, Tapu Fini, and Tentacruel, which the backline is pretty weak to. Now, I should point out that this team is going to be a little bit weak to Virizion because we are ABA weak to it. However, if I see the Virizion on the lead, I will immediately swap into Poliwrath. Poliwrath has debuff potential with the Icy Wind, and the Icy Wind is going to hit for super effective against the Virizion. So I'll swap into that Poliwrath. It's not the most ideal matchup, but it's better than Virizion versus Ampharos because our Ampharos is running Thunder Punch and Brutal Swing. It's not running Focus Blast, so you kind of have to swap out. But Annihilate is the harder answer to Virizion, so you don't want to bring in your hard answer. You always want to bring in your soft answer if you lose lead. Also, if you lose lead to Greedents, I like to swap into Poliwrath as well. Again, Poliwrath has debuff potential, and because it has debuff potential, it is able to flip some unfavorable matchups in some cases. The only two other Pokemon that I can think of that this team is going to struggle against quite a bit are going to be Venusaur and Tapu Koko. Against Venusaur and Tapu Koko, if you see them on the lead, these are one of the rare cases where I would say just stay in with your Ampharos and try to damage them as much as you can. Against the Tapu Koko, just go straight Thunder Punch, let the Nature's Madness go, and then in a lot of cases, I will come in with Annihilate and farm the Tapu Koko down. I'll have to shield one of the Nature's Madness, but I will be able to farm that Tapu Koko down, and in most cases, that Tapu Koko is going to be their best answer to Fighter, so they might not have another Fighter answer in the back. For Venusaur, a little bit more tricky to deal with, but Venusaur is very rare. The next team I'm going to share with you guys is probably the most fun team on my list, and that's because it involves Shadow Typhlosion, and it is going to be the team that you guys are seeing in the battles that I have running on the screen. It's going to be Shadow Typhlosion lead with Giratina Altered and Guzzlord in the back. Giratina Altered is going to be your safe swap in this instance. So with this team, you basically have a Fire type and 2 Dragon types. The Fire type is going to be able to handle most of the Fairy types. The only Fairy type it's not going to be able to take care of is that Tapu Fini, but that's okay because it can hit for super effective with the Thunder Punches at least. But in most cases, they will shield. At least you'll get some shields out of the way. But if you see that Tapu Fini on the lead, they are most likely not going to have another answer to Guzzlord in the back. So hopefully you get that Tapu Fini out of the way, then Guzzlord should be free in the back. Your lead is also going to be able to perform pretty well against Steel types and Ice types. Again, your backline is not going to like those Ice types, and Guzzlord isn't going to be doing really well against a lot of the Steel types. Now, I have to warn you guys, I do not recommend this team for climbing. This is just for fun. I was trying to make Typhlosion work, and I enjoyed the battles that I played with the team. I paired a super squishy Pokemon, which is Typhlosion, with 2 decently bulky Pokemon, and it worked. But this team has some really big weaknesses. Like, it is going to be ABA weak to a lot of normal types because I'm running Shadow Claw on Typhlosion, so it's going to struggle against Greedent. It'll struggle against Obstagoon if you see Obstagoon, and thank goodness I didn't see too many of them. It will destroy the entire team because in a lot of cases, the Obstagoon is not going to let you land a Blast Burn. It will be able to farm your Typhlosion down. The Shadow Claws are going to do nothing. And then Obstagoon is free to take out your entire backline. So keep that in mind. It has a lot of weaknesses. We're also ABA weak to Tapu Fini, although you can take shields from them with the Thunder Punches, but in a lot of cases what was happening was the Tapu Fini would be able to take out my Typhlosion on the lead. I'd come in with Giratina. They wouldn't stay in that matchup. They would save their Tapu Fini in the back, and then my Guzzlord would still have to face it. I was also struggling a little bit against the Poliwraths because they would be able to debuff me, and if I didn't do enough Thunder Punch damage to that Poliwrath, I would have to come in with my Giratina against the Poliwrath and still take Icy Winds. So that was also a little bit of an issue, so be warned. I put that disclaimer out there. If you still want to run the team, it's a really fun team to run. It's also very similar to a team that I used to run a while ago. It's a team that used to get me onto leaderboards, and I used to run it with Deoxys on the lead, but after Annihilate got introduced and Feraligatr got buffed, the Deoxys wasn't working as well in Ultra League anymore, so unfortunately I couldn't make that team work anymore. But this team just reminded me of that team so much, which is why I liked it, and I decided to share it with you guys. Now this next team I actually do recommend for climbing, and that is going to be Cresselia lead with Shadow Feraligatr on the safe swap and Virizion in the back. In this instance, I would recommend Cresselia with Moonblast and Future Sight because if you see the Talonflame on the lead, you will be ABA weak to it if you're not running Future Sight. I also like it for the Tentacruels. Cresselia will be able to handle those Tentacruels, which your backline is not going to be doing very well against. The biggest weakness for this team is going to be Poison and Dark types. You are ABA weak to those, but because they're not that common, I would still highly recommend running this team. If you lose lead to any Steel type, you just swap into your Feraligatr. Even if it is a Registeel, swap into that Feraligatr and go ahead and shield the Zap Cannons. Feraligatr will still be able to hit for a lot of damage with those Hydro Cannons. While this team isn't the most balanced, it is working really well because it has been designed to handle the current meta that we are seeing in the Ultra League, and it does that really well. Cresselia is going to be able to take care of those Dragon types with that Moonblast. It'll also be able to take care of the Poison types, like let's say you see Venusaur on the lead. If you land a Future Sight, it'll be out of the way, and your backline should be able to take care of the rest of the team. Again, your backline is extremely weak to Venusaur. Having that Future Sight also means that Cresselia might be able to do enough neutral damage to flip a matchup. Again, like I said, against fire types, your Virizion is going to be weak to fire types, and you don't necessarily want to swap your Feraligatr into the fire type because you're just going to draw out the water counter that they might have on their team. So it's nice to have Cresselia as a soft answer to those Pokemon. I feel like this team has the simplest strategy and is one of the most beginner friendly, I would say, on this list because you just lose lead to anything and you swap immediately into your safe swap, which is going to be Feraligatr, which I think is one of the best safe swaps in the Ultra League right now. I like to run it with Crunch, but based on what you're seeing, you can run it with Ice Beam. With Ice Beam, you have the potential to fight back against grass types. If you land it, you might be able to flip that matchup. Just keep in mind, if you run it with Crunch, still build up to that Ice Beam. The Ice Beam is 7, Crunch is 6. Build up to the Ice Beam and pretend like you're going for an Ice Beam against a Pokemon that might be weak to Ice type moves. That way, at least you can take a shield from them if you're going to lose that matchup. The next team I'm going to recommend is probably the most unbalanced team out of the 5 teams that I'm showing you guys in this video. It's going to be Virizion lead with Shadow Feraligatr and Shadow Ampharos in the back. Again, another team with Shadow Feraligatr, but I think Shadow Feraligatr is one of the strongest Pokemon in the Ultra League, and it is going to be one of the strongest Pokemon next season when we see a meta that is going to be very ghost heavy. Now this team is unbalanced because it is entirely weak to Venusaur, and it might struggle a little bit against opposing Virizions. In this case, your Shadow Ampharos is going to be your safe swap, which is why you are running it with Brutal Swing and Focus Blast. If the Shadow Ampharos is able to draw out a Virizion, if they have that in the back, then if you're able to land the Focus Blast, you'll be able to take the Virizion out. In a lot of cases, they will shield, but it's good to draw the Virizion out with your Ampharos. That way Feraligatr will be free in the back. Ampharos also does a really good job of drawing out Guzzlords and Greedents, which your Shadow Feraligatr is going to be really weak to, especially since we are running that Crunch on the Feraligatr. Again, you can run it with Crunch or Ice Beam. I ran it with Crunch, but thinking back to it now, I think the Ice Beam might have given me more coverage against the grass types. But Ampharos will be able to draw out the Greedents and the Guzzlords, and if you're able to land the Focus Blast again, you can get them out of the way. If not, you can align Virizion to those Pokemon, get them out of the way, and again, Feraligatr could sweep. I ran my Feraligatr with Crunch because I wanted a move that I could get to faster against Giratina, and I also wanted my team to be slightly stronger against Cresselia's, otherwise I would be ABA weak to Cresselia. That being said, only run this team if it is suitable for the meta you're seeing because, like I said, it is unbalanced. It's also going to be weak to Tapu Koko, by the way, so if you're seeing a lot of those, you probably don't want to run this team. Moving on to the final team, it is going to be Alolan Sandslash lead, and this could be either Shadow or non-Shadow, with Giratina altered on the safe swap and Poliwrath in the back. basically have a Steel type with 2 Pokemon that are going to be weak to Fairy types in the back. Poliwrath and Giratina Altered are going to be doing a really good job covering the Pokemon that Alolan Sandslash is going to be weak to. For example, Poliwrath is going to be good against Fire types, not all the Fire types though, because it might struggle a little bit against Skeledirge and Talonflame, but remember, it has access to Scald, so it could be a soft answer to those. And Giratina is going to be really good against opposing fighting types and against the fire types as well. This team is a little bit technical because on paper it looks like it is ABA weak to Virizion and Annihilate, but if you see those on the lead, you have to swap into your Poliwrath and you start debuffing them, and then Poliwrath might be able to flip those matchups. If you see a normal type on the lead like a Greedent, you stay in that matchup with your Alolan Sandslash and you try to damage it as much as you can, and then hopefully the Greedent will be the only answer that they have on their team to Giratina, because then your Giratina can come in and potentially sweep. I recommend running this team with Ancient Power on Giratina because you need Giratina to be a really solid answer to those fire types. Also, if you're using Giratina as a safe swap, it might draw out a Mandibuzz or a Pidgeot, or even an Alolan Ninetales in Ancient Power is going to be able to hit for super effective damage against all of those Pokemon. But then your Alolan Sandslash should be able to take care of them afterwards. I've seen a lot of people run Alolan Sandslash with 2 water types in the back, so Alolan Sandslash and Poliwrath is a very common combination and it's very effective. But when it's paired with 2 water types, then the entire team is really weak to Virizion. Virizion becomes extremely difficult to deal with. By the way, if you see Virizion on the lead, I would recommend throwing an Ice Punch before swapping out. But because of that Virizion weakness, I decided to swap out one of the water types for Giratina because Giratina is a very solid answer to Virizion. Alolan Sandslash is also going to be doing a really good job of taking care of the Cresselias, which your backline might struggle quite a bit against. Like I said, you are running that Giratina with Ancient Power, so because it doesn't have that Shadow Sneak, it might struggle a little bit against Cresselia. That being said, if you're looking to invest in an Alolan Sandslash right now, I would probably go for one with Powder Snow because next season, normal types are going to be everywhere, and I feel like the variant with Shadow Claw might struggle a little bit more, so probably go for one with Powder Snow. It's going to do a lot better, especially next season. That's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully I've covered everything thoroughly. I know some of these teams are super unbalanced, but like I said, they were working out based on what I was seeing in the current meta. And my goodness, do I have a lot to cover for what's coming next season, because Go Battle League, as we know it, is changing completely. We have an entirely new meta to adjust to and an entirely new play style. So I'm both scared and excited for what's to come. But that brings us to the end of our video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like my content, please consider subscribing, maybe leave a like. It helps me out so much. Let me know if any of these teams work for you. If they don't, I am so sorry. I tried my best. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.